The desert stretched endlessly under the burning sun. Waves of heat rose from the golden sand, making the horizon shimmer as if it were water. For many years, travelers had crossed this land, but none had found anything more than broken ruins and dry bones. Yet today, the desert was about to reveal something that had been hidden for thousands of years. Aaron walked slowly, his boots sinking into the loose sand. He carried only a small pack and a bottle of water, but his eyes were sharp and searching. He was not the leader of the expedition, only one of the younger explorers, but he had a sense that something waited beneath the ground. The others often laughed at his quiet nature, but he listened to the wind and studied the marks on the earth more carefully than most. The team of explorers had come with heavy equipment. They had scanners, diggers, and tents set up around a wide circle marked by flags. Weeks of digging had revealed a flat black surface buried under the sand. It was unlike any stone they had seen before. Under the hot sun, it did not shine but absorbed the light, making it seem colder than the burning air around it. The leader of the group, a man named Darren, stood near the edge of the exposed stone. He pointed with his stick and said that this was no natural rock. It was cut, smooth, and shaped with a precision that no ordinary tools could make. Aaron crouched near the surface and brushed away the sand with his hand. His fingers traced strange symbols carved into the black stone. The marks were sharp, not faded, as if they had been cut only yesterday. "These are not random lines," Aaron said quietly. "They are words." The others gathered around, some curious, some doubtful. One of the scholars took pictures while another tried to compare the shapes with ancient writings. None matched. The stone remained silent, yet Aaron felt as if the symbols carried a warning. By nightfall, the camp was busy with excitement. Lights were set around the dig site, and the workers continued clearing more sand. The black surface stretched farther than they expected, wide and unbroken. Some whispered that it might be a hidden city. Others spoke of a temple. But when the outline of the structure finally began to appear, the truth was far more unsettling. It was a pyramid. Unlike the golden or white pyramids of ancient kingdoms, this one was carved from black stone that swallowed both moonlight and firelight. Its sides rose sharply, though much of it still lay buried. The air around it felt cooler, and even the desert wind grew quieter near its walls, as if nature itself respected the dark monument. Arun could not sleep that night. He sat outside his tent and stared at the strange shape against the stars. The others celebrated, already imagining the riches or fame they might gain from this discovery. But Aaron felt a weight in his chest. He thought of the symbols he had seen, their lines sharp and purposeful. They did not look like decorations. They looked like warnings. The next morning, a group of visitors arrived from orbit. Alien scholars and observers had heard of the discovery and came swiftly to see it for themselves. Their tall frames and silver eyes stood out against the dusty humans, and their voices carried a tone of fear. One of them stepped forward and warned Darren and the team. "This structure is not a treasure," the alien said. "It is a prison. It was built long ago by a race that no longer walks among the stars. If you open it, you may unleash what they locked away." Some of the humans laughed at the warning. Others dismissed it as superstition. Darren smiled and said that explorers could not turn away from such a find. Gold, knowledge, and history might be buried inside. To walk away now would be foolish. Aaron listened carefully, but he did not speak. He looked at the alien's eyes and saw no lie there, only genuine fear. Still, the human spirit of curiosity was stronger than caution. The dig continued. Machines worked day and night, clearing the sand and cutting through barriers. The pyramid revealed more of its body, tall and wide, until it dwarfed even the largest dunes around it. One evening, as the sun set behind the dunes, Arun returned to the carvings. He traced his fingers along the symbols again. This time he noticed a pattern, a rhythm almost like a message waiting to be read. He felt a chill as the shape seemed to whisper a single thought into his mind. Not treasure, not glory. Danger. Aaron stepped back, his heart beating fast. The desert was silent, the pyramid looming like a shadow against the red sky. He knew then that the discovery was not the end of their journey, but the beginning of something far greater and far more dangerous than anyone could imagine. And though he wanted to speak, he kept the warning to himself, for he understood one truth about humans. No matter the risk, they would always open the door. The black pyramid stood like a sleeping giant in the desert. Each day more sand was removed and more of its strange surface appeared. Workers were eager, scholars were curious, and leaders dreamed of glory. Yet the silence around the monument was heavy, as if the desert itself held its breath. Aaron watched from a distance as machines tore at the earth. He was restless, his thoughts circling the symbols he had touched the night before. They were sharp, alive with meaning, yet none of the scholars could understand them. To Arun, the lines felt like voices frozen in stone. They were not carved to honor, but to warn. The alien visitors remained at the edge of the camp. They did not celebrate, nor did they help with the digging. Their silver eyes followed the humans with unease, as though each shovel of sand removed was one step closer to disaster. Among them was a tall figure named Thalen. Unlike the others, he tried to speak again, hoping his words would stop the humans before it was too late. At sunrise, Thalen approached Darren, who stood near the growing base of the pyramid. The leader of the expedition was proud, his eyes filled with ambition as he looked at the black walls stretching higher each day. Thalen's voice was calm but firm. "This structure must remain closed," Thalen said. "It was never meant to be touched. It holds something that the builders feared. You are not prepared for what lies inside." Darren laughed, shaking his head. "Every ancient ruin is said to hold curses. We have heard these tales before. Yet time and again, humans open the doors and learn what others were too afraid to know." Thalen did not move. His face carried no anger, only sorrow. "You mistake fear for wisdom. The builders of this place were older than us all. They had power enough to shape stars, yet even they could not destroy what they sealed here. They built this pyramid not as a tomb, not as a temple, but as a prison. Do you wish to break a prison open without knowing who or what was locked inside?" The words carried weight, but Darren was unmoved. His dream was too strong. He called for his team to continue the work, and soon the sound of drills and engines filled the desert air. The aliens stepped back, choosing not to interfere further. That night, the camp was lively with talk. Some humans mocked the alien warning, calling it superstition. Others whispered about treasures beyond imagination. Gold, jewels, or perhaps lost technology that could change their future. But Arun sat quietly, staring at the dark shape that rose higher against the stars. He remembered the chill of the symbols under his hand. He remembered the feeling that they were alive. Later, Thalen found Arun sitting alone. The alien's shadow stretched long in the firelight. "You do not laugh as the others do," Thalen said softly. Aaron looked up. "I believe your warning. I do not know why, but I feel it too. The markings on the stone are not simple. They are speaking, though no one listens." Thalen's silver eyes glowed faintly in the night. "You hear the truth, though you cannot yet read it. That is why I came to you. Among all here, only you may sense what this place holds. Tell me, why do your people press forward when even their hearts warn them to stop?" Aaron hesitated, then answered. "Because we are human. We are curious. If a door is closed, we open it. If knowledge is hidden, we seek it. Even when danger waits, we want to see what others fear." Thalen was silent for a long time. Then he sighed. "That is why this galaxy will remember you. Perhaps that is why the builders left their prison here on your world. But know this, young human. If the doors of the Shadow Pyramid open, it will not only test your people. It may test every living race." The words sank deep into Aaron's heart. He wanted to warn Darren and the others, but he knew they would not listen. Their dreams of wealth and fame were louder than any warning. He could only watch as the walls of the pyramid grew higher each day, its sharp lines cutting against the desert sky. Soon the explorers uncovered a wide stairway leading down into the ground. The air that escaped was cool, almost cold, carrying a smell unlike the desert wind. Some felt it was fresh, others said it was heavy, but all agreed it was different. Darren was overjoyed. He declared that the entrance to the pyramid was finally before them. The camp erupted in cheers. Lights were set along the stairway, cameras prepared, records kept. Tomorrow they would step inside. Tomorrow they would uncover secrets no one else had dared to touch. Yet as the humans celebrated, Aaron stood in silence at the edge of the camp. His eyes followed the black pyramid, its sharp peak now glowing faintly under the moonlight. He thought again of the symbols, their hidden voice whispering in his mind. He thought of Thalen's words, heavy as stone, and as the night grew colder, Aaron felt a truth rising in his chest. The warning had been spoken, yet it would not stop what was coming. The doors of the Shadow Pyramid would open, and once they opened, nothing would remain the same. The morning sun rose slowly, painting the desert sky in red and gold. The camp was alive with energy. Workers hurried to prepare equipment, scholars carried their tools, and leaders gave quick orders. Today was the day they would step inside the shadow pyramid. The black structure loomed over them, silent and cold, its sharp edges cutting against the bright sky. The stairway uncovered by the diggers stretched downward into the earth. The opening was wide, framed by heavy stone blocks carved with more of the strange symbols. Some workers avoided looking at the marks, claiming they felt uneasy when their eyes lingered too long. Others ignored the feeling, eager to be part of history. Darren, standing tall at the entrance, raised his voice. "This is the greatest discovery of our time. Today we take the first step into the unknown. Generations will remember us." Cheers followed his words. Cameras rolled, recording every moment. Yet not all faces in the camp carried smiles. The alien visitors stood at the far edge of the crowd, their silver eyes filled with dread. Thalen, their leader, watched silently. He had spoken his warning, and he knew humans would not turn away. Aaron stood closer to the stairway. His heart beat hard, not from excitement, but from unease. He felt the pull of the pyramid, as though it wanted him to enter. He remembered the carvings, sharp and alive, whispering of danger. Still, he could not resist the call. The first team moved forward, lights strapped to their bodies, ropes tied around their waists. Arun was among them, chosen for his steady hands and sharp eyes. Darren led the group, his voice confident as he ordered the descent to begin. Step by step, they walked into the stairway. The desert sun vanished behind them, replaced by a deep, unnatural darkness. Their lights flickered on, beams stretching across walls of smooth black stone. The air grew cooler, heavy and still. Each breath echoed faintly, as though the pyramid itself was listening. The stairs went down farther than expected. Dust covered the steps, yet the walls remained unmarked by time. The strange symbols lined the passages, glowing faintly when touched by light. Aaron reached out once, his hand brushing against a mark. A sudden chill ran through him, and he pulled away quickly. After what felt like hours, the stairway opened into a vast corridor. The ceiling was high, lost in shadow, while the floor was lined with golden plates that reflected their lights. The walls were carved with repeating patterns, sharp and symmetrical. Some of the scholars whispered in awe, calling it a masterpiece of engineering. But to Aaron, the perfection felt unnatural, like a trap designed to impress and unsettle at the same time. The team spread out carefully. Their footsteps echoed against the golden floor. Machines were set up to scan the air, measure radiation, and test the stone. The readings returned strange results. The air was breathable, fresher than the desert above, as if sealed yesterday. The stone carried energy that no device could explain. "Remarkable," Darren said, his eyes shining. "This place has survived untouched for thousands of years. Imagine what waits deeper inside." They pressed forward deeper into the pyramid. The corridor twisted and branched, leading to smaller halls filled with broken fragments of strange machines. Some pieces resembled statues, yet when examined closely they showed signs of gears and wires hidden beneath golden shells. Arun knelt beside one of the broken machines. Its face was shaped like a mask, smooth and empty. He touched the edge and felt the faint hum of energy, though the machine appeared lifeless. Something about it unsettled him. It looked too much like a guard frozen in time, waiting for a signal to rise again. The further they walked, the stronger the feeling of being watched grew. The explorers whispered less, their voices dropping to cautious murmurs. Their lights picked out details on the walls, figures carved in long rows showing battles between beings of strange shape. The figures always ended the same way, a dark mass sealed within a pyramid with smaller beings kneeling before it. One of the scholars suggested it was a story of victory, a monument to a forgotten war. But Aaron felt it was not a tale of pride. It was a warning, a memory carved to keep the truth alive. At last they reached a wide chamber deep within the pyramid. The room was circular, its walls lined with golden statues standing in silent ranks. Each statue held a staff and wore armor of strange design. Their faces were expressionless, their eyes made of black stone. Dust covered their shoulders, yet they stood as if waiting. The team gasped at the sight. Darren laughed, his voice echoing. "Behold the guardians of the Pharaoh's shadow. What secrets you must hold." Some of the workers touched the statues, brushing away dust, taking pictures. Aaron stood frozen. His eyes followed the rows of golden figures, and a thought struck him. They were too perfect, too detailed, too uniform, he whispered to himself. These are not statues. A shiver passed through the chamber. For a moment the lights flickered, The air grew colder, carrying a faint vibration like a heartbeat beneath the stone. The explorers stopped moving, their eyes wide. The pyramid was not empty. It was waiting. And with each step they took, its silence grew heavier, as though the descent had awakened something that should never rise again. The chamber of golden figures was vast and silent. Rows of statues lined the walls, each one tall and gleaming under the explorers' lights. Their armor caught the glow, making them seem alive even in stillness. Some of the team walked among them with excitement, running their hands across the golden surface, whispering about the riches this place would bring. But Arun did not move so quickly. He stood near the entrance, his eyes fixed on the faces of the statues. They were too smooth, too perfect, their eyes of black stone staring without blinking.
A cold feeling pressed against his chest.
He whispered to himself, "They are watching." Darren, filled with pride, stepped boldly into the center of the chamber. He raised his torch and let its light sweep across the ranks of figures. "Behold," he said, his voice echoing, "the guardians of the Shadow Pyramid. This is the treasure of the ancients." Some laughed and clapped, but the sound quickly faded. The silence that followed felt heavier, as if the very air was listening. Then, without warning, one of the statues trembled. It was slight at first, just a shiver across its golden surface. A worker near it cried out, stumbling back. The others froze, their eyes wide, hearts pounding. Slowly, the statue's arms shifted, dust falling from its joints. The black stone eyes glowed faintly like embers waking from ash. "Impossible," one scholar whispered. It moved. Before anyone could speak again, another figure stirred, then another. Across the chamber, the golden guardians came to life, their stiff forms shifting, their staffs lifting from the ground. The sound of grinding metal filled the room, echoing like thunder. Panic spread through the team. Some ran for the door. Others shouted for weapons, though none had brought arms strong enough for such a place. The golden guardians turned their heads in perfect unison, their black eyes locking on the intruders. Aaron stood frozen as the nearest figure stepped forward. The golden armor glowed faintly, powered by energy older than human history. Its staff struck the floor, sending a shockwave across the chamber. The lights flickered, sparks bursting from the equipment. "Fall back," Darren shouted. "Everyone out." The workers scrambled, their footsteps loud on the golden floor. But the guardians moved with terrifying speed, blocking the exits, their staffs crossed like gates of metal. The explorers were trapped. Aaron's heart pounded, yet in the chaos he noticed something strange. The guardians did not strike him. One passed close, its black eyes scanning the room. When its gaze met his, it paused, its head tilting slightly, almost as if recognizing him. Then it moved on, chasing others. Fear and confusion mixed in Aaron's mind. Why did they hesitate with him? What did they see? He remembered the symbols carved on the pyramid's walls, their hidden message that only he seemed to sense. Perhaps the guardians saw the same truth. Darren, refusing to retreat, shouted in defiance, "These are machines. They can be stopped. Do not fear." He picked up a metal rod from the ground and struck one of the guardians. The sound rang out like a bell, but the guardian did not fall. Instead, it turned its head slowly toward him. With one swift motion, it swung its staff, sending Darren crashing across the chamber. He landed hard, the torch falling from his hand. The flame sputtered and died, leaving the room in deeper shadow. Cries filled the chamber. The team huddled near the walls, their courage breaking. The golden guardians advanced, their heavy steps shaking the floor. Then suddenly Aaron stepped forward. He raised his hands, not knowing why, only feeling that he must. His voice shook, yet it carried across the chamber. "Stop!" The guardians froze. Their staffs lowered slightly. The explorers gasped, staring at Arun. Even Darren, weak on the ground, lifted his head in shock. Arun's breath came fast, his body trembling. He had no weapon, no power, only the strange connection he could not explain. But the guardians responded. Slowly, they moved back, forming a circle around him instead of attacking. The scholars whispered among themselves. Some claimed it was chance. Others said it was a command hidden in the ancient design. Thalen, watching from the shadows of the doorway, spoke softly. "It is recognition. They know you." The guardians remained still, their black eyes fixed on Arun. The chamber grew silent again, the only sound the heavy breathing of the explorers. It was clear the machines had not risen to destroy blindly. They had risen to test, to judge. Aaron lowered his hands slowly. His voice was quiet but steady now. "They are not statues. They are the watchers of this place. They guard what lies deeper." and they will not allow us to pass unless they choose. The explorers looked at one another, fear in their eyes. Some wanted to leave at once to escape before the Guardians changed their minds. Others still hungered for what lay ahead, unwilling to abandon the greatest discovery of their lives. Darren, bruised but unbroken, pushed himself up and spoke through clenched teeth. If they recognize him, then he will lead us. We have come too far to turn back now. The answers are below. Aaron felt the weight of every gaze upon him. He had not asked for this, but the choice was no longer his alone. The pyramid had awakened, and it had chosen to let him stand while others trembled. The Golden Guardian stepped aside, opening a path deeper into the pyramid. Their staffs crossed once more behind the group, sealing the way back. There was no escape now. Only descent, and as Arun stepped forward, leading the way, he knew the real secret of the Shadow Pyramid still waited in the darkness below. The corridor beyond the Golden Guardians was unlike anything Aaron had ever seen. The walls glowed faintly with a golden hue, as though the stone itself contained light. Strange machines rested along the sides, silent and still, but emanating a low hum that vibrated through the floor. The air was cooler here, fresh, almost sweet, yet carried a weight that pressed upon their minds. Aaron led the team carefully, his eyes scanning every symbol, every shadow. The Guardians had stepped back, forming a protective line behind them, but their presence still made the explorers uneasy. The corridor stretched far ahead, curving slightly, as though guiding them toward a destination they could not yet see. At last, they entered a large chamber, round and high, filled with a soft golden energy that seemed alive. The room was empty of statues, but in the center, on a raised platform, was a structure that made all of them pause. It looked like gold, yet it shimmered as though it were flowing. Light moved across it without source, patterns forming and changing, almost like a heartbeat in metal and energy. "What is that?" one of the scholars whispered, stepping closer, his voice trembling. Aaron stared at the structure. His heart pounded. It was not a treasure chest. It was not gold in the ordinary sense. It was something alive. The symbols he had traced on the walls, the whispers of the pyramid itself, and the recognition of the Guardians, all of it led to this moment. "This is the energy," Aaron said quietly. "The reason the pyramid exists. It is not treasure. It is power." Darren, though bruised from the previous chamber, stepped forward. "Power? Then we can take it. Imagine what we could do. The world will know our names." Aaron shook his head. "No, this is not meant to be taken lightly. This energy can reshape matter, create or destroy. The builders left it here for a reason. They did not want it used by anyone careless. That is why the Guardians exist." One of the scholars reached out toward the glowing energy, and Aaron grabbed his arm. "Do not touch it," he said. "We are not ready." The energy pulsed in response, as though aware of their thoughts. Golden waves rippled across the structure, and faint symbols appeared in the air around it. Aaron recognized the lines immediately. They were the same as the warnings carved on the pyramid walls, now alive and moving, carrying a message directly to him. "Humans," the symbols seemed to say. "You are chosen, but the choice is yours. Only the worthy may control what was hidden. Those who seek it without understanding will destroy themselves." Aaron felt a shiver run down his spine. The message was clear. The pyramid was a test. The energy was the legacy of an ancient race, far older and wiser than any in the galaxy. They had entrusted it to only one species, humans. The Guardians had recognized him because the pyramid knew his kind could rise to meet the challenge. Thalen, standing silently in the corner, watched Arun with quiet intensity. "The builders never intended any other species to claim this energy. We believed ourselves wiser, but the pyramid shows that humans carry something unique. Perhaps that is why it exists here, on your world." Aaron looked around at the others, their faces filled with wonder and fear. "It is not for taking. It is for learning, understanding. If we misuse it, we will not only destroy ourselves, but we may endanger many worlds." Darren shook his head, refusing to listen. "You do not understand. This is our chance to change history. Why should we wait? The Guardians are here, yes, but we can control the energy if we act quickly." Aaron stepped forward, raising his hands. The golden energy pulsed in response, brightening as if it recognized his intent. The Guardians stirred behind them, moving slightly, their staffs aligning in a protective formation. It was clear that the pyramid itself was responding, testing the humans' choices. "Darren," Aaron said firmly, "the pyramid does not lie. It has waited for someone worthy." It will not serve those who seek only greed or fame. It will respond only to those who understand responsibility. The room grew quiet. Even the scholars were silent, sensing the weight of Aaron's words. The golden energy continued to pulse, patterns shifting and forming new symbols, revealing truths that were almost impossible to comprehend. Humans had been entrusted with a power older than history, a force that could reshape worlds if guided wisely. Finally, Aaron stepped closer to the energy, letting his hands hover above it without touching. The guardians did not move to stop him. They watched, still and silent, as if recognizing him as the first human worthy of the pyramid's secret. He understood then that the real revelation was not gold or treasure, but the responsibility humans now carried. The energy spoke to him in visions, showing civilizations rising and falling, the dangers of misuse and the potential of mastery. Aaron realized that this knowledge was not meant for conquest or wealth. It was meant to prepare humanity for a role they had never imagined, to inherit a legacy left behind by a race far older than any living memory. As the chamber's glow settled, Aaron turned to the others. This is what we must protect, understand, and respect. The pyramid chose us not for glory, but to prove that humans are ready for more than we ever believed. We must learn, or all will be lost. The golden energy continued to pulse softly, and the guardians stood like silent sentinels. Aaron's heart swelled with both awe and fear. The true secret of the pyramid had been revealed, but the real test was only beginning. Humanity had been chosen, and the galaxy would soon see that they were not the youngest or the weakest species, but a people with a destiny that could change everything. The chamber pulsed with golden light, and the energy of the pyramid seemed alive, flowing around Aaron like a river of power. The guardians stood silently behind him, their black eyes fixed, their staffs resting lightly on the ground. Every explorer in the room held their breath, waiting for the next moment, uncertain if it would bring triumph or disaster. Darren struggled to his feet, rubbing the bruises from his fall in the previous chamber. His pride and ambition burned brighter than ever. "We have come too far to turn back," he said, his voice trembling with excitement. "This energy is ours. Think of what we could do. We could reshape our world. No one could stop us." Aaron turned to face him. His expression was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "You do not understand. This is not a tool. It is not wealth. It is alive in a way we cannot control without learning first. If we act without understanding, we risk destroying not only ourselves but everything beyond this pyramid." The other explorers looked between the two, unsure whom to follow. Some were tempted by the promise of power, their curiosity overwhelming caution. Others hesitated, sensing the truth in Aaron's words, but unsure if they had the courage to listen. Thalen, standing near the entrance, raised his voice quietly but firmly. "The pyramid has chosen a guide. The guardians will not allow the energy to be taken by those who are unready. The decision is before you, humans. Will you respect what has been entrusted, or will you seek it for selfish gain?" Darren shook his head, frustration and fear mixing. "And if we refuse? If we leave it here, what has all this discovery been for? The galaxy will never forgive us for not seizing this chance." Aaron stepped closer to the energy, his palms hovering just above the glowing structure. He could feel it responding to him, pulsing in harmony with his heartbeat. The guardians remained still, watching, waiting. Aaron understood then that this was not simply a test of courage. It was a test of judgment, a measure of humanity's readiness for something far greater than treasure or conquest. The chamber seemed to grow colder, the air thick with tension. Aaron closed his eyes for a moment, letting the pulse of the energy guide his thoughts. He saw visions, worlds destroyed by careless hands, civilizations rising in harmony with understanding, and humans standing at the center of it all, holding the power not for themselves, but for the greater good. Opening his eyes, Aaron spoke to the team. "We have a choice. We can take the energy and risk everything, or we can learn to respect it, to guide it properly. The pyramid is alive, and it will respond to our intentions. Power without understanding is destruction. Wisdom is the true path forward." The golden energy pulsed stronger, as if echoing his words. The guardians stepped closer to the platform, their staffs forming a protective circle around Aaron. They moved in a way that made it clear they recognized him as the one meant to decide. The others could either follow his guidance or face the consequences of defying the pyramid. Darren's pride would not yield. He stepped forward, hand reaching toward the flowing energy. "We cannot wait for lessons. We are explorers. We take what we find. I will lead humanity to greatness. Aaron raised his hand and the energy responded instantly. Golden light expanded outward, creating a barrier between Darren and the rest of the chamber. The guardians shifted, forming a wall behind Aaron, separating the cautious from the reckless. The hum of the pyramid grew louder, resonating through every bone in their bodies. You are not ready, Aaron said firmly. This is not for you, Darren. If you cross this line, you will face the consequences. The pyramid will not be taken by force. Darren hesitated, feeling the power press against him like an invisible weight. He looked into Aaron's eyes and saw determination and understanding, something stronger than ambition or fear. Slowly, he lowered his hand, realizing the truth of the warning. He had been ready to seize power, but he had not been ready to bear its responsibility. The chamber relaxed slightly. The golden energy calmed, flowing gently as if approving the choice made. The guardians returned to their positions around Aaron, standing taller, more vigilant, yet without hostility. The room seemed alive, aware that the humans had made the correct decision for now. Thalen stepped closer to Aaron. You have chosen wisely. The pyramid has judged humanity and found one capable of guiding its power. The others may follow or learn, but the first step has been made by you. Aaron looked at the team, some relieved, others humbled, all aware that nothing in their lives would ever be the same. He realized the weight of responsibility pressing on him. It was not enough to survive the pyramid or unlock its secrets. The challenge was to guide humanity toward understanding, to ensure that this power, older than stars, would be used wisely. The golden energy pulsed softly, a heartbeat of light and warmth in the chamber. Aaron knew that the true journey had just begun. The pyramid had awakened, humanity had been chosen, and the choice had been made. The question now was how they would rise to meet it, and as the team looked on, Aaron stepped closer to the energy, feeling it respond to his thoughts, his intentions, and his will. The guardians bowed slightly, acknowledging him. The path forward was clear, and the responsibility of humanity had never been heavier or more important. The choice had been made, but the legacy of the Shadow Pyramid would continue to test them all. The golden energy flowed gently in the center of the chamber, casting light that seemed to breathe across the walls. Aaron stood before it, palms hovering above the glowing surface, feeling its pulse and rhythm. The guardians surrounded him in a perfect circle, their black eyes steady, their staffs firm. Every explorer in the room watched in awe, understanding that what they were seeing was beyond any knowledge they had ever gained. Thalen, standing quietly near the entrance, observed Aaron closely. The alien's voice was soft but carried across the chamber. The pyramid has chosen. You are the first human to be recognized as worthy. Its energy will respond only to your intentions. Aaron nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility press upon him. He realized that the legacy of the pyramid was not gold, not treasure, but a gift and a test. It had chosen humanity, and now it had chosen him to claim its secrets in a way that could shape the future of his people. The explorers gathered near him, some hesitant, some filled with awe. Even Darren, humbled by his previous ambition, now understood the significance of the moment. He stepped closer, speaking quietly. I see now. This is not power for wealth or fame. This is knowledge, guidance. It chooses who is ready. Aaron extended his hands, letting them brush the shimmering surface. The energy responded immediately, rippling across the chamber in waves of light. Patterns formed in the air, symbols glowing with ancient meaning. Aaron felt them speaking to his mind, showing him visions of the past, civilizations that had risen and fallen, and the wisdom of the builders who had left this gift behind. The guardians remained still, but their posture softened. They had recognized Aaron as the rightful heir to the pyramid's legacy. Their presence was no longer threatening. Instead, it was protective, a sign that the pyramid itself approved of the human claim being made. Aaron closed his eyes for a moment, letting the energy flow through him. He could feel its depth, its intelligence, its awareness. He realized that this was more than power. It was understanding. It was a connection to the builder's knowledge, a bridge between humanity and something far greater than the stars themselves. As the light continued to shimmer, Aaron spoke aloud. I accept the responsibility of this gift. I will guide it not for myself but for humanity. I will learn from it, protect it, and use it only with understanding. The golden energy pulsed strongly as though affirming his words. The symbols in the air brightened, forming patterns that Aaron could begin to interpret. He felt the knowledge filling his mind slowly, teaching him how to control the energy, how to shape it without harm, and how to protect it from those who were unready. The explorers watched in silence, understanding that they were witnessing history. Humans had claimed what no other species could. They were no longer just explorers or adventurers. They were chosen by an ancient legacy, recognized as worthy of a secret older than any civilization. Darren, standing near Aaron, whispered, "You have done what we could not. The pyramid chose well." Aaron smiled faintly, feeling both pride and humility. The weight of responsibility was heavy, but he was not alone. The guardians were there, the pyramid itself guided him, and the other humans would learn from this moment. The chamber seemed to respond to his calm and careful approach. The energy flowed like a river of light, expanding to fill every corner. Patterns in the walls and floor glowed, showing pathways and designs of incredible complexity. Aaron understood that this knowledge was not to be taken lightly. It was a gift, a test, and a responsibility all at once. Thalen stepped forward, his silver eyes reflecting the golden light. "Your people will remember this moment. Humans have claimed what others could not, but the true test has only begun. You must use this knowledge wisely, or all that has been given could be lost." Aaron nodded, feeling the truth in the alien's words. He understood that the claim was not an end but a beginning. Humanity had been chosen, and now it was up to him to guide them toward understanding, to ensure that the legacy of the builders would bring growth instead of destruction. He turned to the explorers around him. "We are not here for ourselves. This energy belongs to all of humanity. We will learn from it, protect it, and use it wisely. This is our chance to prove that humans can rise to meet the challenges of the galaxy." The golden light pulsed again, as if acknowledging his promise. The guardians moved slightly, forming a protective circle around the platform and the human who now held their trust. The pyramid itself seemed to hum, a sound that resonated deep within every explorer, every observer, filling them with awe and respect. For the first time, Aaron felt the full weight and wonder of what had been entrusted to humanity. The shadow pyramid, hidden for thousands of years, had chosen its champion. And with this choice, the galaxy would see that humans were not merely another species. They were the inheritors of a wisdom far older than the stars, capable of shaping the future with care, courage, and understanding. The explorers stood silently, knowing that the world above could not yet comprehend what had occurred below. Aaron stepped fully onto the platform, hands resting lightly on the flowing energy. The guardians bowed slightly, acknowledging the human claim. The pyramid had awakened. Humanity had been chosen, and the true journey into knowledge, responsibility, and power had only just begun.